Guys and girls, welcome back. It's Photography Lounge with another Minidisc video. This time, of course, you don't know what I'm going to talk about, so I won't say of course, I'll say this. It's about the Sony MZ-B100 business recorder. This is one of the great Minidisc units, recorder units, sorry, I've ever come across, and I'll explain why. I'll do a close-up. I'll do one of these faraway things where I kind of trick the camera into focusing on something where it's not supposed to focus and whatever. Anyway, I've had this for a while. There's a couple of reasons I purchased it. One is that it, despite being a business recorder, does, and I think it says on the box, let me see. Ah, yes, there it is. It does Minidisc long play. I think that's what that stands for. So you can record LP and LP2 and get something like 4 times the amount of sound or recorded data on a single disc, which means instead of 74 or 60 or 80 minutes, you get 160 or 320, up to that is. So if you're doing a long form recording, say you're at a business meeting and you want to hit play or record, sorry, you can pull in like 320 minutes in LP4. Of course, that's not the best quality sound you'll get, but if you're just recording what that person's saying there and what that person's saying there and what that person's saying there and what you're saying for posterity or whatever reason you're recording, you can get a lot on this. Better is the fact that you can play it back on the internal speaker. So you don't need to carry around a pair of headphones. And of course, the internal speaker is not very good. But we'll get into that. Before we get into it, let's just check this bad boy out. I've got a box here. I've got it in the box. Wonderful box. It's the best box, the greatest box. It's not really. It's a bit of cardboard here. Opens up. This is not an unboxing video. Inside. This is not an unboxing video, so I don't really want to bother with the box. But I'm going to keep the box here on the table. Maybe I'll put it on top of the iPad. Or not always, but a lot of times Sony and other Minidisc players come with this sort of tote bag, sorry. And inside is this bad boy. You've seen it in some of my other videos. You can see the central large speaker there, or maybe it's 2 speakers. They're horrible sounding. You can also see the 2 left and right stereo microphones, which will be able to collect music from this way and this way. It has plug-in power, of course, optical recording. It does speed control, so you can play back things back really slow. And you can play them back really fast. I can't really speak fast, but I think I might do a little demonstration of that. It sounds good as well. As you know from the last video I did, it comes in the middle of the pack. It's the first player on the table that I had that was the one to not pass the iPod video challenge, and that means that it has a little bit more noise in its headphone output than the iPod. So if you have sensitive headphones, you'll notice it, certainly next to other players. If you don't, you won't notice it. But my favorite thing about this player, and this is going to be embarrassing to say, is that it uses an LR6 AA battery. So you can go to any shop and pick up a disposable one. Don't do that. Or if you do, dispose of it properly, please. Or you can get a rechargeable one and use it, many hundreds of times. And the battery life is very good. Something like 25 hours to 30 hours playback and maybe 10 to 15 for recording. So you'll be able to basically nail everything you want. In terms of sound quality, apart from hiss, it does very good. It holds load well, not quite as well as, check this bad boy out here. This is the MZ-E33. This is a budget player with a really horrible battery compartment door, but it holds load better than any other Sony or Minidisc player, portable Minidisc player I've ever used. Meaning that you can plug in any earphone to it and it won't suddenly get a big tip up or tip down in various frequency response areas, and it won't suddenly mess up the stereo image too much, and the THD and IMD won't just load up to the wazoo and back. This one doesn't do as good. The MZ-B100 does not do as good, but it's better than most of Sony's high-end later on players, like the high MD ones, where they have a problem holding load So you put in a pair of sensitive earphones, suddenly you get a bass suck out. Or perhaps you get a weird butterfly effect, up in the treble or the high mid-range area. This one keeps it solid. It also is a very solid player. You can squeeze it in the middle. There's just a little bit of body flex. Now there's flex with every single MD unit, of course, but this one has just a little bit. It's very well controlled. All of the lines, as you'll see in my close-up section, are just tight, and it just stays in good, really solid. And instead of another thing I like, actually, and it's kind of interesting how the remote works on this. Another thing I like is that the amplifier output is affected with an analog dial, as you can see here. I hope the camera will focus on that, rather than a digital one. Now there's a problem with that, and that is that at low volumes you may get a slight channel imbalance. And if you're using sensitive earphones and you're like listening at your bedside table, or you're in your bed and you want to keep it quiet for the next person, if you have a person next to you, or if you don't, you just want to be quiet, you might notice channel imbalance favoring either the left or the right, depending on how sensitive your earphones are and how the volume at which you're listening. But this allows you to choose any tiny bit of volume uptick or downtick that you want. It's not specified to pre-adjusted levels that would basically go to which would correspond to a digital amp, or at least a digital output. This one gives you any level you want, as long as your fingers are fine enough to move it up or down. The remote control, bad boys and bad girls. You know what, we should look at this. We should look at this a little bit closer. Let's change the camera angle, because I don't think you're really going to get a good angle from there. Let me just switch things around and get a cup. I'm sweating. It's hot today. It's 37 degrees. 37 Japanese degrees. This is a total aside, but 37 Japanese degrees is not 37 Canadian degrees. So in Canada, you'll get like 29 degrees, and they're like, according to the Humidex, it feels like 40 degrees. No, it doesn't. 40 degrees in Japan feels way hotter than any 40 degrees you'll ever hear about in Canada. And I've been to 46 degrees in California. Feels hotter than 29 in Canada, which they say feels like 40. 40 degrees in California also feels hotter in the sun than 29 in the sun in Canada does when there's a Humidex of 40. Humidex is BS. Let's change the video. Ladies and gents, let's look how solid this bloody thing is. Okay, I'm squeezing this bad boy here. Squeezing. You see how there's just no depression along this line at all. The plastic here in the middle holds the two metal sides perfectly together. Absolutely perfectly. Just checking my autofocus working. So unlike the Sharps, there's no bending, or the bending is very minimal, and even if it bends, the plastic in the middle will then support the bend from going too far. So metal stress on this player is extremely low. Now, the battery compartment is a little bit of plastic. It looks weak, but it folds in. It also folds flat out like this. When you open it, you can pop in a battery and pop it out accidentally. But it doesn't come out easily. It won't just rock open like the MZ-E33 or let's say the MZ-E25 will, or even actually the MZ-E55, which is also a little bit problematic. I can't believe I just said the word problematic. But yeah, this thing is solid. This is a bit of plastic. There's a bit of plastic here with showing, and all the controls are plastic as well. But this thing is just solid. And watch this. One touch eject. One touch eject. Not quite as fast as the Sharp one, but way more solid. You can close it with one finger on either side, and the thing won't just bend. Its hold switch is easy to use. It's beefy as well. It's not a little tiny thing like the MZ, let's see, EH1, which is their first generation or second generation high MD player one, where you just have to use your nail. No, this thing you can use your thumb, just slide it. Remote control, which is basically compatible with most of the Sony remote controls, with a couple of provisos here. Some things are not exactly compatible. It's got a screen here. So you don't have to rely on a remote control. In fact, the remote control that it comes with doesn't have a screen. You hear the microphones that I mentioned and the speaker bar here. Maybe there's two, maybe there's one, I don't know, but it sounds awful. In fact, let's see if we can get a disc to play. I'm going to pull this disc out of the MZ-B100, which is a beautiful player, except for this. Look at this thing. You just kind of nudge it and it just kind of wants to pop open. I don't have a battery in there in the moment, but I do have a disc. Let's see what we have in here. I haven't titled it, so you're not going to see anything cool on the screen. Hopefully the battery inside still works. Let's see here. Ah, yeah, look at that. It's now saying that it's reading, and the air... What? Wait a second. Here, let's... Oh yeah. You hear that? Here, let's put this up to the microphone here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is good stuff. Wait, this is not... Let's go to the second song. The second song's better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's coming. By the way, hey, just so you're not bored, let me show you my hand. I moved my wedding ring over to the left-hand side. Not that you need to know that. Here, let's... Alright, we're going to cue a little bit forward here. There's the bag. Okay. So, ladies and gents, this thing is now playing. As you can hear, the microphone probably doesn't sound very good. It's very tinny sounding, but, you know, you can hear what you need, especially if you've taken a recording. At a business meeting, you want to play back what you just played. You don't need headphones. You can also change the speed. Boom. It's like those science fiction movies where suddenly someone's dropped a truth onto you, or you've taken a pill and you're like, your reality just goes boom, boom. And here, now it's fast. Now you can listen to like normal trance at the speed of Russian progressive trance. Or you can get through a lecture, an hour lecture in 45 minutes or half an hour. But here's normal. That's a pretty cool function. You can affect the bass with this sound button here. Now that only works through headphones. As you can see on the screen, you hit the sound button, it doesn't show. So I'm going to plug in a pair of headphones, the ones that came with it. We're going to lose the music at the moment. Okay. Let's see, where's the sound button? It's over here. Check out the screen. It shows sound 1, so that's sound enhancement 1. There's also sound enhancement 2, which is more bassy. And then V up, which essentially becomes mono. And then off. Let's turn off this horrible sound. Volume here. Just scroll it right down. Beautiful, beautiful little bit of an attenuator here. Channel imbalance is minimal, but yeah, generally good. You can check your synchro recording in and out, so that when you plug in an analog source or perhaps even a digital one, it will either start recording as soon as it detects a signal or whenever you hit play or pause, so then it will start. You can do your edit functions. This is your delete button essentially. It's in red, which is nice. A microphone, optical input here. You'll notice that there isn't a line output, so one thing, especially of a unit this size, that's kind of a shame is that you don't have that. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of line outputs. I've tested a number of line outputs over the years that actually test worse than their headphone compatriots. So, you know, line output is essentially a name as far as I'm concerned and not an actual performance indicator. But yeah, so check this out. Easy search buttons here. This is your edit menu here. This is your playback mode. And this is the display. So how much time is remaining in this track? How much time is remaining on the disc? You can change record date. That's pretty damn awesome. For the disc, it's playing back SP mode. This is track number 2. Just a lot of options here. And what's cool is the editing button here isn't easy to press. So you're not accidentally just going to suddenly start editing your disc. Now, here's the group button. I've never really bothered with group. I don't really listen to anything but SP recordings, so I don't worry about, you know, putting a couple albums on and then grouping, etc. But yeah, it's a damn good player. Your Q button's over here, so you can, you know, track forward, track back, etc. Change your recording mode from SP to LP to mono to stereo. Yeah, all there. And this, bad boys and bad girls, I think, now I I don't know how to test this exactly, but these buttons along the top, they may well be plastic, but they feel really damn good. They feel like they are actually metal. And the record button, when you're actually recording an album, depresses way in when it's engaged. I'm not going to show you it doing that now because this album is really precious to me. But the other ones, stop, play, and pause, are separate instead of including, a lot of times later units include play and pause or play and stop in the same button. No, separate. So you want to stop the whole disc, get the player turned off, you can do that. If you want to just hit pause and come back to the song, you can do that as well. That's just a very solid unit. And the sound quality is, like I said, good enough. So if you really want to listen to your favorite albums, you're going to find that this thing not only supports various headphones pretty well, the output is typically powerful as any MD unit is, which is like, I don't know, 75 to 60% of the output of an iPod. But it's loud enough. It's also good enough under load. And you can, of course, play back with these speakers here. And just some damn high quality construction, damn high quality interface. And let's just, before we go, let's just check out the microphone. Oh, not the microphone, the remote control, which I have on my lap. This bad boy here. As you can tell, there's some editing functions built in here. So whilst you're recording, you can add a track mark, you can pause, and the volume, amazingly enough, despite this being an analog volume, it will then go over here and you can change the analog volume attenuator on the remote control. This is, at least among all the players I've used, unique. It doesn't work for some players. Of course, you can't just use this remote control on other ones in the same way. You have your sound setting button here, headphone output here, and stop, play and track forward and track back. So obviously they've combined the review units with the play functionality. But this is a solid little unit. It's got some functionality that most of these these recorders don't have in their included remote controls, and it's long. Check this out. This is going to be like a Star Wars intro. It's like, you know, the ship just keeps coming. I have precisely measured the length of this cable, and it is exactly 1 arm length plus 35% of a hand. So, you know, I would imagine that you'll be able to take that to the bank. If someone asks you, you know, how many that in centimeters or millimeters, you just tell them 1 arm's length plus 35% of a hand. So that's plenty to get it all the way from your pocket to your shoulder, or if you have it in your bag. It doesn't have a clip, unfortunately, so you can't just put this on your clothes, but it otherwise works pretty damn well. It's it's a good recorder. It's a great remote control generally. I don't think you're going to find in modern players, this is from 2000 or 2001, you're not going to find one as well made. You're also not going to find one that holds signal quite as well as this and keeps overall distortion as low as it does. Yeah, but it's clunky. I mean, even compared to the MZ-E33, which is a larger player because it holds an LR6AA style battery in it. You know, most players are probably about like that. So this player is another 50% the size of most players. It's also much thicker. But if you don't mind putting this bad boy in your pocket, you're not going to really have much to worry about. Great sound, great control. I think it's good looking. It's not as good looking as like the MZ-R37, but it's damn well worth it in my opinion. So if you're looking for MDs in 2018, 2019, and you want one that's full functioned, you don't really care about the net MD stuff, you don't care about high MD, well, bad boys and bad girls, Sony MZ-B100 is an excellent unit. You can even listen to things really slow. Really, really slow. or you can listen to things very, very, very fast. Well, ladies and gents, that's the end of this sort of video review of the Sony MZ-B100 business recorder. I hope that I was lucid. I doubt that's true, but I hope that this video was helpful, especially if you're looking for an MD recorder in 2018 or 2019 or any time after this. You know, like I said, it's solid. It also sounds good. And it has looks all its own. It has a functionality set that you're not going to find in a lot of modern recorders. That being microphones here, speaker, as well as well laid out edit functions, a fully functional play, stop and pause buttons, an analog attenuator which ends up being helpful in a number of situations, and just overall good layout. It's bigger, it's thicker. That's not. Than a lot of players and a lot of recorders are, but there's not really much you can do to better it when you're looking for something full-fledged and something that sounds good as well. So thank you very much for looking. I hope that you will be kind enough to leave a comment. Sorry, that's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. A comment, especially if you don't like the video. I'd like to hear what the problem was. So thank you very much for watching. You can tell that I am out. I'm ready to leave this room and go to the air conditioning. So thank you very much. I will see you next time, and I hope that you will stick around and subscribe to the show.